Pets are amazing to connect with because they usually have one set of paws in this realm and another set of paws in the other. I can even be talking to somebody that I haven't met before and they're telling me a story and I get this whole download of, yes, they have guardian angels. I actually asked my dog Lucas and he's like, yes, and this is his name and this is what he looks like, and he shared.
Today we are talking with Julie Hirt. Julie is a soul-level animal communicator and intuitive coach. She helps people trust and listen to their animals through the bond of unconditional love that people have with their pets, which helps them to see through their limiting beliefs for their own personal growth and expansion. And as animal lovers, we are very much looking forward to hearing her share about her abilities with us. So we want to welcome you to the show, Julie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Tara and Tracey, for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation.
We are as well, so thank you again. So, Julie, can you first start by telling us exactly what is an animal communicator and how did you get started with this type of work?
Yeah, sure. So an animal communicator is someone who connects. We don't necessarily like the word psychic because there's just so much baggage, but we are basically connecting with someone's animal psychically, telepathically, intuitively, whichever word you prefer, and hearing from the animal what it is that they want, how they feel, what they think, and relaying that to the person. And the animal doesn't have to be in what we say in body or alive. The animal can actually have crossed over the rainbow bridge and we can connect with them too. So we can either be people who are connecting with an animal that is currently alive, or we can act like a human medium, but we connect with animals instead. And then to answer your second question, how I got started in all of this was I had 3 dogs. This was, 20 some years ago. I had 3 dogs. And as the oldest one started to slow down and get weary, I had actually seen, there was a show on the Discovery Channel called The Pet Psychic. I don't know if anybody ever remembers it, but
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was fascinated. I was fascinated by all that stuff, all the people Oprah would have on, like Carolyn May and John Edwards, I think. Anyway, so I had this dog, he was starting to slow down, and I thought, and I'd heard somehow of the pet psychic, and I thought, you know what, I really want to find one. And there was one in my area, and she helped me work through, that was Noah, and she helped me work through Noah's transition and prepare and everything he needed. And then I didn't really think about it again until when I had 2 dogs named India and Bono, and they then began to age as well and slow down. And so then I found, at this time I was living someplace else, and I found another person, and she too helped me with their transition and their crossing. But when the second of the 2, they passed within 6 months of each other. And when the second, Bono, passed, I fell into such a deep depression. It was really hard to deal with all the grief. Plus we live in a world that doesn't honor grief, let alone pet loss grief. And I really, really struggled to get like my feet back underneath me, so to say. And I had a friend who was intuitive. She was my craniosacral massage therapist. And she said, you need to learn animal communication. And I said, I don't think I could ever do that. She's like, no, I know you've got the gift. You need to try to do it. Okay. So she found a school, or she knew of a school for me, and I enrolled in my first class and was certified in that. And then I still didn't quite believe in it. And so I had another dog by the time. His name is Lucas. He's currently sleeping at my feet. And we were out hiking on a trail, and I was arguing with my husband as to why I wasn't to do this, and really kind of stuck with those arguments. And Lucas was like, nope, you need to do this. And he ran into me and broke my leg. And so, because I literally needed to get knocked off my pins in an effort to do this work full time. So in that downtime that I had from work, and this was before COVID, so I was working at home from Zoom and whatnot, I actually found the teacher with whom I'm still working. I'm one of her teaching assistants, Danielle McKinnon. And her dog looks like Lucas. There were all these signs. And so I went through her training, and that's where I have the certified soul level animal communicator and intuitive coach. I learned both of those from her. And so it was with that aspect then that I finally was Okay, now because I separated from my advertising career, or it separated from me, one of the two. And then I was finally able, but it took what, 4 dogs, a broken leg, and a couple of classes. So yeah.
How do you receive the information you are getting from the animals, Julie?
I don't know if you're familiar with all the what we call the clairs. There's, clairaudient, clairvoyance, claircognizance. Most people think clairvoyant is the whole kit and caboodle, but there's actually different senses. So for me, my strongest are clairaudient. So, and that was actually my first, was I could hear. It's like someone is sitting right here and I can hear them going, whatever they're saying. I'm also clairvoyant. So I see things. So many times I'll get a phrase, but then one of the words is actually highlighted and bubbly and sits in front of me, or I will see pictures, or they'll use movies or things like that. So I'll see aspects too. I also do get what we call knowings, which is the claircognizant. So it's like one big, huge dump of information. So I can even be talking to somebody that I haven't met before, and they're telling me a story, and I get this whole download of whatever really is going on behind the scenes that they're trying not to share with me, kind of a thing. So there's all of that. Plus there's also Clairsentient, which is where you feel, and I can feel in my body how the animal, or in a coaching session, if we're working through an emotion that a human has, I can feel in my body where that emotion is. And even to some degree identify and see if I can't help the human connect to their. You'll hear me talk about animal and human, not person and pet, right? You'll hear this different language, but anyway, but I can feel too. So, and I can also do, sometimes I will smell, which has a different word to it, but it's not like, I can't ever remember what the Claire word is for smelling, but I will get these different sensations. They'll use different channels, if you will, in an effort to get their information relayed to me. They'll also, what I always call is like the Rolodex, not to be super old school, but I feel like my brain is like a Rolodex of different experiences, books I've read, movies I've seen, things like that. And they will reference things for me to also share, okay, well, I had this experience and your animal is sharing this with me, and this is why they want you to know this, that type of a thing. So that's mostly how it comes through.
I actually do know the name for the smelling in Claire. It's called Claire smell.
I know. I wish
very
it was
technical.
anything.
It's a very technical
It's
term.
very technical. I'm a genius. Actually, what you're saying brings me to my next question, which is perfect. How do you decipher between the information you're receiving from the animals or from possibly your own guides?
So when I get ready to do an animal communication reading, I actually sit for about 5 to 10 minutes prior to and do a meditation where I'm actually setting my intention to connect with the animal. And I have several sentences that I'll say I'm connecting to, for example, Tracey's animal, or I'm connecting with Tara's animal. I'm asking their animal, because I don't know the animal's name at that point, but I know your name, the human's name. And so I'm setting that intention to connect with them and to have the conversation directly with them. My guides, ancestors, whatnot are always with me. However, when my intention is set for that specific animal, it's like, those old soup cans as a kid that you played telephone with that had the string in it. It's like that. That's where the connection and the focus goes. And so then I know I'm connected. And there is a whole level of trust with this too, right? I trust that animal is, okay, yep, I'm picking up the other end of the soup can and we're going to have this conversation now. And it does. And I will just say, like, for me, because there is a type of session that I do where I have the animal and guides, and the energy feels different it's hard to describe, but it's also physically in different places. Typically, the animal for me in those sessions will sit over here on my left-hand side, and the guides will be over here behind me on the right. So it's almost like it's like stereo kind of, but I can tell which side it's coming from, if that makes sense.
On that note, I'm just curious, how is that coming through? Or is it are you hearing this, or this is all of the different clairs that you discussed, like the images and the sound? Is it all coming together, or is it just usually one particular avenue?
No, yes, all the above. It can be any and all. Like sometimes the animal gets so excited or happy or is really trying to come to the human's aid, if you will, particularly in grief, where they just like flood all the clairs, if you will. And so I have to go, and I understand what they're doing. I understand actually what they're saying. I just can't get it out of my physical mouth in an effort for like either one of you, for example, to understand what they're trying to say. So I have to go, whoa, slow down. I'm human here. I have to go a little bit slower. But it can. Usually I will say that most times I'll get a big knowing, and then it's backed up by a word and or I see something as a way to kind of kickstart that larger picture that I need to describe, if you will. So
I understand you have a program that you call Your Pet is Your Life Coach, which right away got my attention because I love that title. I think that's the coolest thing. Can you share with us, how does that program work? What type of information can you expect to receive to share with someone through the program?
The Your Pet is Your Life Coach is actually it's a package of 2 readings. So the first one is a 45-minute soul level animal communication session. And then the second is a 60-minute soul level intuitive coaching session. And so what happens is we do the animal communication session first. And my readings are set up in a way that at the end of the very last thing we do is we get the soul level lesson. So we hear from your animal what behavior they're using to get your attention, what the lesson is that they're teaching you, and the homework that they want you to do with them going forward to help grow the relationship, change the relationship, all this. It's really fascinating. The second coaching session, we take the lesson from the animal, and then we meet again and we have the animal kind of revisit and just check in to see how you're doing with the homework. And if there's anything that's kind of getting stuck or whatnot, and then we pull the guides in, and they help understand, because you're working on, for example, confidence. If you're working on confidence and your animal's got some specific homework, but you're getting stuck, or there's something even deeper about confidence, which usually is a negative belief that you're holding on to, the guides understand which one it is you're dealing with right now, when it began for you, the energies that, or the people, if you will, that were around you at the time that negative belief really stuck, and we begin to loosen it and create awareness. And you get homework from the guides too that works with the homework from the pet. And then you're continuing to move on in an opportunity to bring awareness to situations so you can grow.
I think the homework from my pet would be, we want more treats, we want more toys.
And there's probably even more to it than that. Yeah.
So, Julie, what kind of things can we learn from our pets?
We can learn so many things. We can learn to, like, for me, for example, like to actually get out of a job that was burning me out and do what I was supposed to be doing in the first place. Confidence, for example, is a big theme this month. It seems like and I do attract actually a lot of women that are actually trying to move forward in their life, uncover what's holding them back. So confidence seems to be a really big theme. Finding your voice is a huge theme that the animals like to bring forward, as well as boundaries. They'll help us put boundaries in place, that in an effort to, keep our energy for ourselves. A lot of us women, we like to take care of everybody else before we take care of ourselves. They'll identify that lesson, if you will, and then they'll create homework around it that you can begin to get grounded, do some belly breaths, meditate, take walks with me, enjoy the food that you're feeding me, that kind of, like, not you enjoy their food, but enjoy food together. But they'll do things like that in an effort to help us grow. They're really focused on our growth. And I know that sounds arrogant. And I know some people actually struggle with, oh, animals are here for us. Well, of course, because we're all connected. We're all one. And because humans are so disconnected from the natural world and even from ourselves, the animals are asking us to come back and actually work with them. And to do that, they need us to uncover what's holding us back. What negative stories or crazy stories do we think about ourselves, that we are not worthy, that we're not good enough? And so they'll begin to kind of claw at that, if you will, pun intended, but to be able to uncover that a little bit for us.
How can you tell if our pet is trying to communicate something to us?
One of the biggest ways that your pets will get your attention is their behavior will suddenly change. they'll do something that you'll go, wait a minute, they weren't doing that the other day, or a health issue can come up. So like, for example, if your dog was always happy with their food and suddenly went off of it, yes, absolutely, there could be a health concern, and we're never a substitute for veterinarian care. There can also be a reason why that they are suddenly not wanting to eat their food, or say that they suddenly develop an issue with their dog friend next door or their cat friend next door. Oh, my dog Lucas all of a sudden started, we live right next to a nature preserve, and all of a sudden he started pouncing and killing mice. And that's not like him. So I asked him what the heck was going on. And it was all about finding my voice and being able to be comfortable in saying what I need to say, because I was stuck in my thoughts, which sounded to him like scurrying mice. And so he was going after the mice to try to quell the thoughts. There's symbolism in all of this, but they will do things that where something changes that you're just like, wait, what? That wasn't like that the other day. This hasn't been like this. What are you doing? And then actually sometimes is a good time to get in touch with an animal communicator to understand why, because that's the best question to ask. Why? And then they have so much to say about it. Yeah.
What are some of the ways we can be more in tune with our pets and have, better communication with them?
I find in my sessions, one of the biggest ways is to spend really good quality time with them. We are just so busy as a culture and we feel like the animal, okay, yeah, if I feed you and I might take you for a walk here and there, like, okay, and vet care and whatnot, okay, that's good. They actually want us to get on the floor with them or get wherever they are and just be with them. So it's almost even like a little bit of a meditation practice. And, can you be mindful when you're petting them? Can you sit with them quietly and even gaze into their eyes or touch their paws or anything like that, and really kind of honor the being that they are, even if it's just from a physical perspective. But when we can quiet ourselves, accept that invitation from them and quiet ourselves in that regard, you'll be surprised, because all of us can do this. All of us can talk with our animals the way I do. You'll be surprised what comes to you. It might just be, you might get a song that suddenly pops in your head, or a phrase might pop in, or you might suddenly get this memory of something else, and that's them trying to communicate something to you as well. So just accept the invitation. And I just find being quiet really helps.
I'm just curious, because as you're saying this, I'm picturing you like walking down the street with your dog and then passing by other people walking with their dogs, and their dogs like looking at you like, oh, I finally found somebody that can communicate with me. Like, does that ever happen where the dog recognizes you because you obviously develop this ability and they try to communicate through you just randomly, like random dogs on the outside?
All the time. And I did in the very beginning, like, oh, hey, your dog's trying to tell you something, and here's my card. And that's never gone over well. Or none of it. Because so many people don't know what this is.
That's quite a sales pitch you have.
I know. Yeah. Do you know why your dog is trying to pull you over? They have something to say.
Here's my card.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that didn't work well. So I stopped that long ago. Now what I do though, but yes, it happens all the time, and it'll happen with cats too. And I'm actually allergic to cats, but I don't like that about myself, but I will do everything I can to be close. I don't have to do this in person, by the way, just to be clear. But if I am with a friend's house that's got a cat, I just can't touch them, because then I'll break out in hives. But I don't mind getting as close to as I possibly can to them, just because I think they're great, or horses or whatnot. But now what I do, if an animal, comes up to me, wild animals will do this too, by the way, because I can connect with wild animals too. But they'll, if I see them and I can tell they've got something to say, I'll just say, it's really good to see you, or aren't you gorgeous? Like, I just send something like, I see you, I got you, have your dad call me. No, just joking.
That's funny. Now, does this work with all animals? Like, because I had a snake recently in my garden, and I'm just wondering, could I have communicated to that?
Oh, absolutely.
That animal.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, situations like that. And even like for those of you that have animals that get up on your couch, like, put the picture in your head of what you want, not what you want them to not do. So like for the snake in your garden, if you wanted the snake to leave, picture like the neighbor's yard or wherever you wanted it to go and just say, I see you. I think you're lovely. I always like to give a compliment myself, but I just like, I see you. You're lovely. If you wouldn't mind, I think over there is great, but I picture that. I don't necessarily picture like the transition. I'm like over there, like that's the great spot. You're safe. Or like, for example, if I will tell them they're safe. Like if I get a spider in my house, you're safer outside than you are here, kind of a thing. So I won't necessarily kill anything, but there are other people in my house I cannot control. So
I think
exactly.
that to go back to Tara, because I would love to put in a little snippet. She sent me a video of her talking to the snake, and it did what she said. And I don't know what she.
It did. I actually sort of,
and I don't know if she started off with a compliment. Maybe you might have.
I'm trying to think. Did I sort of did what you said. I mean, I went out there and he was a
Literally
6-foot snake and he caught me off guard because he was, they blend in.
Mhm.
And so I walked over and I was like, oh, look at that. And I was worried. I didn't know what kind of snake. I didn't know if it was rattlesnake. And so I actually just stood and took it in for a moment. And I was like, okay, let me see here, like how I feel about this. And I wasn't scared, but I definitely didn't want him there. So I just looked at him and I was like, I wasn't complimenting necessarily. I was more just observing and really seeing how I felt about it. And then at one point I did communicate. I didn't compliment though, but I did say, please leave. Just please go. And he actually turned around and left. And then I saw his tail. So I know he was not a rattlesnake. I think he was just a garden snake, but he was still a big one. And he left. But then he came back because I guess I wasn't very clear. And I did tell him to go again, and he finally did leave. So
yeah. So please leave and stay gone. Thank you.
And stay away.
Super low. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I know I mentioned to you earlier that both Tracey and I have lost, unfortunately, 2 senior dogs that we had for a very long time, for each dog for each of us. And it was very difficult for both of us to go through that transition. I understand you also offer grief counseling and a grief support group for people who have lost their pets. Can you share a little bit more with us about that?
Yeah. So I offer pet loss grief support sessions as well as these circles. So the grief support session is knowing that the client is in mourning at the, when we go ahead and meet. Those sessions are a lot like the soul level animal communication sessions. However, the animal actually would like to have a little more freedom and space to be able to comfort their human. So instead of rigidly following the layout or the format of a soul level animal communication session, we make sure and I always follow the animal's lead in any session. In the grief ones, we just make sure that so much of the time is spent so much more on questions, because many times the human has guilt or shame or just so many, like, I don't understand why, what happened. And so it just allows for both parties to have more space to have that conversation. We actually still end up the session with a soul level lesson and homework, because many times the animals that are in spirit, they're still working with us to help us. And so there's still some homework that can come through. But we, again, just open up that space. In the pet loss grief circles, those I do with a woman that I met when I gave a talk and a presentation almost 2 years ago on the other side of the state where I live. And she was the last person that I read in the audience. And she has a lot of trauma in her life, and her animal was telling her, okay, it's time for you to let's do something. We'll come to find out she's a yoga instructor, a trauma-informed yoga instructor. And so she had this idea of, let's do pet loss grief circles. And so what we'll do is we allow for 8 people to join us on a Sunday afternoon for about an hour and a half. And I connect with the human's animal, get a message from them, just a short little message, maybe 5 minutes, whatnot. And then my partner, her name's Carrie Kenny, she actually will help the person and the whole group, because we're there to support each other. We do some yoga, chair yoga, if you will, and just kind of move through that grief to allow some breath to happen in all of the sadness and in the morning. And we're getting really good feedback that people are like, oh, wow, to have the support of others who understand pet loss grief that are going through the same thing. And then also to be able to have that breath and movement exercise has really helped. So I do both of those aspects right now.
I love that you connect the movement to it, because I think that's a piece that a lot of people leave out and don't realize how important that is, and also the breath work as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree 100% that pet loss grief is just not taken as seriously as it should. I mean, it's in a lot of cases more important or upsetting than even sometimes a family member's passing, because we all separate and go off and do our own things, but our pets are with us every single day. That becomes almost like a child in some cases for a lot of us. And so the loss of that being in your life versus somebody that you really only talk to occasionally, not saying it's not important, but it can affect you even greater than the loss of a family member. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that enough, especially in the workplace, because people don't give you time off. And I've experienced that myself, where I've had the loss of a pet take place, and I was expected to just go back to work the next day and put on a happy face. And that's just not appropriate. It's not fair. You should be given the time to get through that difficult time.
Yes. Couldn't agree more. Yes.
I think possibly you should have the option that, sometimes you get sick days. You can say, well, this is my bereavement. I'm choosing it for this.
Right.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I've seen too, it's my personal experience as well as my clients' experience too. And I don't know if you're familiar with Radley Valentine, but we were talking with Radley Valentine the other day. He's a angel tarot expert about when he's lost his pets too, is because in my experience is because they love us with such unconditional love, and they see the real authentic us, and we feel safe in being seen in that way. So to lose, and I use air quotes, right? But to lose that connection or that being that's there, so helping us all the time with just in that space of love, it is really hard. And so I do think pet loss grief can be way more traumatic, way more difficult than losing a fellow human in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You mentioned earlier, which I thought was really interesting, and I've never ever thought of this before, but that pets have their own guardian angels and spirit guides, which I think that's actually really a cool thing to think about. I'm just kind of picturing what my animal's spirit guides must look like. But can you tell us a little bit more about that? How does that work? And are you communicating with their spirit guides as well?
Yes, they have guardian angels. I wasn't aware of it when he posed the question. I actually asked my dog Lucas, and he's like, yes, and is this his name? And this is what he looks like. And he shared all this information with me. And it was really kind of interesting. And then he also has ancestors, guardians, and guides around him too. If we're all connected and we're all one, why would humans be the only things that have these? To some degree, the animals are working with us too. So of course, everybody's connected to every single thing. So yes, so they have a guardian angel, typically, is what I'm understanding the more I work with them on this. They have a guardian angel. They do have spirit guides. I have not asked. I very rarely will see someone else's guides. To me, there's also, just for me personally, there's something about, I've got mine. I can see mine. I know yours are there. I can feel them. They don't necessarily need to show themselves to me, because they may represent themselves differently to me than they would to you or to, my dog Lucas. But yes, so I know that they're there. I just haven't necessarily worked directly, if you will, with all of them. But I do know that they do have them and work the same way as ours work for ours, for their greatest and highest good, and the work that they're doing with us to support them too. Everybody needs a support system. So they've got one as well.
So does that mean the snake had its own spirit guide that maybe was telling it needed to go?
I am hearing, yes, absolutely. There's also, I will also share too, really quickly, is that so with a species of animal, there is what we'll also call either the oversoul or a deva, or I spell it Daeva. So there's many people that either, and plants have this too. We can do this with plants too, where instead of talking to a dog like the one at my feet. I can talk to the larger dog soul, which would speak for all dogs, kind of a thing. And so the same thing with the snake. Like for me, when you're mentioning the snake story, I hear, yes, it had a guide, but it's also part of this larger oversoul. And so you may have also just called in the larger oversoul when you were talking to the snake, because it needed to understand, I need to leave and stay gone.
Well, I think my snake was not a deva, but a diva.
Yeah. Wouldn't disagree.
Julie, is there an interesting story you can share with us from a pet reading you've done?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I know. There's so many. The one that really comes to mind, and this was early on when I was doing this professionally, was I had a woman contact me because her cat was suddenly peeing outside the litter box. So this cat had always been great, stellar, and all of a sudden decided, nope, not anymore. And she wasn't sure if it was because he was aging or what was going on. And so I connected with the cat and, get a sense of the personality and all that. We get to the question and I say, so I believe his name is Jasper. So Jasper, can you tell us why? Why are you peeing outside? What's going on? Why are you peeing outside the litter box? And I'm hearing him say, because I have to freshen up the place. And I said, and so I tell that to the client and she's like, okay, no, this doesn't make it better for me. So I asked him again. I said, so can you share why? What about freshening up? Can you talk more about freshening up? And he started to talk about all of the house cleaning products she was using that were really chemically based, like a lot of bleach, a lot of really not the holistic organic types of things, like natural products. And I heard him say, it's not healthy for her to have these types of, he said, fumes, and she really needs to change her all of her cleaning regimen. And she went, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense to me, because I have been, and I've noticed that my asthma's kicked in and I haven't been able to figure out why. So I have a feeling that this is it. So, and I went back to the cat and he's like, yeah, absolutely. We need for all of our health. And she had another cat too at the time. So anyway, so come to find out, she decides to get rid of all the cleaning products. She switches to all natural. Her asthma goes away and Jasper starts peeing in the litter box again. Not a problem. So
wow.
Yeah. And to me, that's like a simpler story. There's others, and I can't think of like a specific one, but again, trying to get people to, find their voice and confidence in but they'll do, little things like this too. Yeah.
Funny question. Have you ever had an animal tell you that they didn't like a significant other?
Oh yeah.
Really?
All the time. Oh yeah. All the time. Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. I do get, many times, well, you'll always be a woman that's asking, and they'll say, can you ask my dog, cat, how they feel about, and they'll give me the person's name. And it's usually a man, usually a male. And I'll ask, and I've had dogs cross their arms and go, mm-mm. I've had cats go do this, and kick them you need to kick them to the curb. And then they go on though. What I really think is interesting is they'll go on to explain why. And what's been so fascinating is to me is I'll say, okay, your animal is saying that this person that's in your life doesn't raise you up. Instead, they keep you over to the side, or they don't let you talk, or whatever. They always back it up with a reason. And usually the woman will be like, I knew it. It's exactly how I feel about that person. And I haven't figured out how to let it go. That's 9 times out of 10. That's what happens. But yeah, That happens a lot. Mm-hmm.
I use that as a judge a lot of times of people's character. If my animals don't like a person that comes over, that tells me a lot.
Yeah.
I listen to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've always done that with my dogs. Yeah. Cause it's like, love me, love my dogs.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Julie was very kind to offer to do a reading for both Tracey and I for our pets. So we thank you so much for that, Julie, and we will definitely accept the offer.
Tracey, what's the name of the pet that you want me to connect with today?
Daisy.
Okay. And Daisy is a dog or a cat?
A doggy.
Okay. Female?
Female.
Okay. And she's alive, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Those are the 4 things that I need to know for a reading. So I just wanted to go through that. Okay. So I'm going to connect in with Daisy, female dog alive. I'm just going to get a little sense of her personality. And she's already making me laugh because I can just feel this sass that is coming up through my belly. Like, I am in the house. I got something to say. Now, she's reminding me of, I don't know if you've seen, there was a movie with Viola Davis. It was like Maz. It had something, she was like a blues singer in like the deep South or whatever.
Okay.
But it's that kind of a, you do not mess with me kind of a feeling. She feels really grounded. She feels, I hear her say, I do not take any crap from anybody. Like, do not even think about it. Yeah. Does this make sense to you? Okay. Yeah. And again, this grounded feeling, she actually, and I know at one point, I think you had held her up into camera, so I know what she looks like, but she does feel like she has a bit of, even though she's smaller, she has a bit of like stoutness to her, a weight to her. And she's kind of like there is a to her kind of a feeling. And then she does show me herself with some boxing gloves on and it's just like, yeah, I can tangle with the best of them. Yeah. She's like, size doesn't matter. I can tangle with the best of them. And and I hear her saying, I always stand up for who I am. Does that make sense to you?
Totally. Because I brought her home. She was a rescue. I think she was like, 3 months old, and I had older dogs, and they try to show their dominance, and that little puppy beat the poop out of both of them. Like, not really, but like they literally quickly discerned that she was the alpha dog. And she's sweet, but she's like exactly what you just said.
She makes me laugh just because she's got such this attitude and this sass, and there's just, what I want to say about that is, even though she's making me laugh with the sass, there's also an aspect of, she also doesn't take herself too seriously. Like, she knows this about her and she thinks it's kind of funny too. And so like she's being a little coquettish about it. Like, yeah, I can turn it on and I can turn it off, and I can turn it on and I can turn it off. Does that all make sense to you as well? Yeah,
totally.
Okay. Did you have a question for her?
I did. My question is, are you okay with the new puppy in the house?
Okay. Are you okay if I kind of open it up and ask her, how does she feel about the new puppy in the house?
Yes.
Okay, she's making me laugh because at first she went, and she like took a deep sigh and was like, okay. And I just like, I wasn't expecting this. Like, and I'm hearing her, she's showing me like sleepless nights. And like, for the love of God, can you just run out of energy? Please, can you turn and I just like this whole like, oh my God, I wasn't like, Mom, we could use a drink is what I hear. And then after she says all that, and to some degree, she's also not taking herself seriously because she's showing me that energy again about, yes, it is exhausting. And yes, it is, there's a lot going on. But at the same time though, this is why I know she's not taking herself too seriously, because she pushes her sleeves up. If she had sleeves, she's doing this kind of a movement. And she's like, okay, we got to bring the new one online. She's got lots of stuff she's going to teach Mom. I got to get her educated. I got to download all the info. I got to tell her how it is. And I hear Daisy say, I'm the main teacher of the puppy. And what I say goes. And she knows this. And I hear her say that the puppy's starting to fall in line with what Daisy and I hear Daisy say, I don't mince words with the puppy. When she's out of line, and I don't know, hopefully it's female. I don't know if you said that, but when the puppy, is it a male or a female?
Sam, it's a male.
Oh, okay. I kept hearing female, but
what's really crazy is I kept calling my puppy a girl all in the beginning.
Oh,
I kept saying she or her. I kept doing it. And even Tara's like, stop that. I'm like, I know, but she's so pretty. He's so pretty.
Yeah. So just so you know, Daisy then was doing the same thing. That's why she kept calling it she. Yeah. So I hear her say, I'm the boss. Puppy knows it. And it's going to be fine. And she's like, and we're going to have that drink, Mom, because this is like exhausting. But at the same time, what I'm also hearing you say is she's actually excited that Sam, you said, is here. Because I also see Daisy really handing the baton to Sam at some point when Daisy is ready to cross. She's got a long, long ways yet, but she's going to hand off that baton to him.
I found them sleeping together in a basket this morning, which was the cutest thing. So thank you.
Yeah.
I've been really worried about it. And Tara, funny enough, it's not even her dog. She's worried as well.
Oh.
So thank you.
Yeah.
I kept on telling Tracey she's going to give her dog an identity crisis if she keeps calling him a she.
Well, yeah, it's so funny. That actually came up in a session the other day, gender. Animals don't really care about gender. We're the only species that does. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Did that answer your question?
Yes. And
Okay.
it makes me feel really, it just put a little stamp on it after seeing it this morning and hearing you. Good.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Tara.
So to keep it clean, because if we bring up the dogs, I will need a box of tissues. So in order to keep things clean, I'm going to go with the cats today. And I've got one little one sitting right here next to me. She's the girl. She's the baby. And then the boy is over here. You can see him in the basket. I'm curious to see what you get for each of them. And then I have a question for you about their behavior.
Okay. So what's the one that was appeared in camera there for just a little bit?
This is little Sky.
Sky.
I'm wondering why I'm reaching up to get her.
Okay. I'm asking only because she wants to go first. So I just want to make sure.
Oh, you want to go first?
Yeah. She's gorgeous. She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
Female alive. And what is as Sky says, what's the other one's name?
She doesn't really care. Blue.
Blue. Is it BLU?
Yeah. It's BLU. Yes. How did you know that?
Okay. And is Sky, is she spelled SKYE or without?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. Shush. Okay. Shush. That is crazy that you knew that.
Cats are, I mean, clearly I have dogs. Cats are amazing to connect with because they usually have one set of paws in this realm and another set of paws in the other, and they can be between them both. So they're fascinating. Okay, yeah, that is pretty cool. Okay, so Sky really wanted to go first. Kind of like how Daisy, but not so. Okay, wait, I'm going to say this again. So Sky, actually, as she comes in towards me and I can see her personality immediately comes through. Also, to some degree, sassy, much like Daisy was, but her sassy is way more refined. She's more of like the person she's referring me to is Josephine Baker. I think, wasn't that the African-American jazz singer in Paris during the war, like World War II? But there was such a refinement. Yeah. Okay. So, but say like the Beyonce of our time, but just like super refined, like very sophisticated, must have the best. And she wants to even talk like this very yes. And I'm hearing Sky say, like, I like things the way I like them. And I don't know why there's a conversation of anything different is what I'm hearing Sky say.
Right.
And I also hear her say, what's mine is mine, what's yours is mine, and what's his is mine, and everything is mine. Does that make sense too?
Yes, that definitely sounds like Sky.
Okay. She also just wants me to share that she knows that she is absolutely gorgeous. She has no problem with it, and she doesn't understand who would ever doubt anything less. And she even has like fans on either side, like those beautiful.
Love it.
So that all makes sense to you about Sky?
It does. Yeah, that's her personality for sure.
She wants to know if you want to ask a question of her first before she lets the other one in.
Yes, I would love that.
Okay.
So lately she's been hiding a lot. And part of it is that the other cat chases her and attacks her at times, and I have to separate them. And I'm worried because she's hiding so much that I don't want her to spend her whole life in a closet. So what can I do to fix this problem for her and be able to make her feel more comfortable?
Okay. All right. Which is interesting. They're interacting right now behind you. I don't know if you can see that. Actually, she walked right up to the other cat.
She's smelling his paw, and he's being very patient about it right now.
Okay. All right. So let me ask her, about the hiding. Can she share with us why she's hiding of late? Okay. I hear her say, I need my space. I need my time. It's like, I need downtime. I need some alone time. And I actually hear she's saying she's modeling or mirroring a little bit of behavior for you, Tara, that she's suggesting that the two of you need a little downtime, a little quiet time, a little alone time. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yeah. She loves, like, first thing in the morning, she wants to be with me and on my lap and petting, like be pet. It's always just first thing in the morning. Like, that's her little time for us to be together.
Yeah. And I'm hearing her say, like, yes, she's trying to get you to, like, and I don't know if you have a spiritual practice of meditation or yoga, something in the morning. What I'm hearing her say is that the two of you can almost do together, which is what she's been inviting you to do. But what she's also suggesting is that you need to find like another little pocket of that. It feels like more in the evening, more before you go to bed, something where you just can, like, excuse yourself from the rest of the world. Shut down the device, I hear her say, like she's doing this with your phone. So I don't know if you have a cover on it, and she's just like, we need to tune out. And I'm just hearing her say there's more slowing down just between the two of us. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Absolutely.
Okay. Does that help answer that question for you?
It does. It does. Okay. Yeah. And I'm just curious, do you get anything from this guy?
Okay. Yeah. Let me connect in with Blue Male Cat Alive. It's interesting because the first thing I hear him say is, I just do not understand. Like, I just can't, I don't know what, I'm kind of confused about what do I get to do? What can't I do? I'm hearing him say, like, the rules keep changing for him about what he can and cannot do with her, what she will accept of him and what she won't. And and I also hear him say that even too, like, there's some new, what I'm hearing him say is, there's just been some new cadences and some new flows in the day, routines and whatnot. And it's also, I'm hearing him say, also just a little bit confusing. So he's actually asking if you can kind of explain to him, here's what I need you to do. Here's what I'm doing today. Like, share with him.
Okay.
He just needs some clarification about, he's more, what I'm hearing him say is, he's like, I'm more routine based and Sky's more like ruling the roost. But I just need to know where I fit in and what I need to do on any given day. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I just have been doing some traveling lately. And so that really upset his schedule. And I think he was more affected by it than she was. I think he was upset by that. So
yeah.
But I did tell him that we're not doing any of that for a while. So
okay. Yes. And and then I'm hearing him say, like, he's more like a dog, like he needs to have his set routine and whatnot. So yes.
Yeah.
You said you were traveling. I could feel it in my body. Like, oh, she's not going to go. I could feel it actually relax a bit more.
Yeah. He follows me all around the house, no matter where I go, because he wants to keep an eye on me and make sure I'm not going somewhere.
You're staying close by.
Yeah.
Yes. He's very enamored with you. I'm hearing him say, he thinks you're the world.
Yeah. That's so funny. I always say that to him. I actually say, I'm your world, which I am. I mean, what else? He doesn't leave the house. So literally I am his whole world. So I tell him that all the time. I'm like, I'm your best friend, whether you like it or not.
I like it. I hear him say, oh yes, okay, please sign me up for more. Is what I'm hearing him say.
Well, that's good to hear.
Cool.
Oh, this was so great. Thank you so much for that, Julie. We really appreciate that. It's so kind of you to offer. And I think it brought both, I'll speak for Tracey too, brought both of us comfort in knowing, what our pets are thinking. And I think it would bring a lot of other people comfort to also hear from their pets too. So I'm going to encourage everybody to reach out to you and do a reading. So I think that would be great and good information for people.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure for both of you. Thanks for having me at this conversation today. It was wonderful.
Julie has a website where you can find all of her services that she offers, and you can schedule a reading with her as well, which we definitely recommend that you do. We will share those links in the description below, along with her YouTube channel and her other social media accounts, as well as the Animal Communication podcast, where Julie is a co-host. So be sure to check that out as well. So in closing, Julie, are there any final messages that you can leave us with that the animals want to share with anyone listening today?
Sure. So the animals are actually inviting us to have a deeper connection with them. So however that works for you, whether spending time on the floor with your cat, going outside and listening to the birds, but they actually really want you to trust them and have that connection for your own growth and know that they're all here for all of you.
Thank you so much, Julie, for that message. We really appreciate your time and sharing your gift with us today and helping us to learn how we can better communicate with our pets and our animals. It was so great having you today. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Hi, Julie.